Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Print on Demand Playbook. I'm Rusty Pepper,
And I'm Maddy Alcala.
and together we're exploring the fascinating world of print on demand. And that fascination is going to take us to the Impressions Expo 2025 that was just held mid-January in beautiful Long Beach, California, where we actually got to talk to some of the biggest names in POD when it comes to the apparel side, attend some of those really cool parties, including the Guten Party. Nice job, Maddy, throwing another awesome party. And we're going to talk about those insights in all the interviews we had. So lots to cover. So before we jump into it, how's everything going, Maddy?
Things are going pretty well. The Impression Show I thought was an amazing way to start the year, and it made me even more excited for 2025. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I mean, really coming from a lot of the conversations that we had, the way people are feeling, the optimism out there, that was,
Yeah.
it makes me feel really positive. I felt that way, but just because I feel that way doesn't always mean that everybody else is seeing it. And so to kind of see and hear what people are thinking about and the way they're looking at it, it was really positive. So I'm feeling good about it. I'm feeling good about where we are. I think there's a lot of fun things happening just regardless. I mean, the event activity this year has been it's been a lot of fun.
It has been a lot of fun. I think we are off to the races in 2025 so far, and we heard that at the show. A lot of optimism, which I love, because I think, this industry has had a good couple years. We also had a couple rough years coming out of COVID. And so it was very motivating to hear a lot of positive sentiments from all the leaders that we chatted with. And the show was a lot of fun. I agree. Guten Party was awesome. So we'll try to do the same thing next year.
I hope so. I count on it every year. It's like my go-to.
Yeah, me too. Look at that.
It's good to be able to see everybody. I mean, one thing I really liked about the show, and we'll probably see this in the highlights, is the fact that there's a really strong global presence too. So we get to see and talk to people from all over, and that to me is interesting because you also get their perspectives on how they're seeing the print on demand industry, the influences that are happening. It's not just in the U.S., but really globally.
Yeah, it's global and it's becoming more cross industry, right? It's been such a traditionally apparel focused show, but we had partners like Taylor there for more of the paper, print, and stationery space. We had wall art partners, we had cut and sew sublimation textile partners there. So it really felt like an apparel focused show to me, but honestly kind of an industry kickoff for the year as we think about decorated product, fabricated product, print on demand in general. So completely agree with you in the global perspective. So it was a little bit of everything, which was awesome. So got to see a lot of really great people.
It's interesting. It's actually a really perspective. I actually like your perspective on that because I did notice actually folks that I had not seen there previously that were there. Yeah. And that was kind of refreshing to see because it really kind of goes to show that people are recognizing the fact that we can also be there as a community. You don't necessarily have to be an apparel focused company to go to like Impressions, but knowing that all the partners that service print on demand, whether it's the technology providers, they're all there. And so you can chat, you can talk, get them all in one place. And that makes it a lot easier. That's why I've been going for years. We're not an apparel company, but for me, I was always being able to go see all of our partners, folks that we service. And quite honestly, I just think the people in the industry are fun to be around.
Yeah, they're completely fun to be around. And I think, we talked about this in our predictions, but I think you and I both are huge believers in the power of partnerships in this industry. And I think the Impressions attendance is reflecting that view. It's wonderful to spend time together. It's a small space. Everybody knows everybody. But I think it also, it hints to really what the brands and demand platforms are asking for. They want holistic solutions, right? You're not just an apparel store for the most part anymore. I work with businesses who sell a lot of t-shirts, but they're also really interested in paper products and drinkware and home decor items. And so I think it's great for the production and the platform side of the industry also to have that opportunity to come together because we can just deliver better solutions to the market if we all actually know what's going on.
100%. So on that, why don't we transition into segment one, which I've got is the buzz around 2025. Because we asked three questions. What were those three? Let's talk about the three questions that we asked everybody. Because we interviewed, I believe, seven or eight folks. We're going to roll some clips into this at the end that kind of talks about after each section of what those answers and the interviews. You did a way better job, by the way, on the interviews, but it makes it fun to be able to kind of hear and see what they're saying. But let's talk about the first question that we asked everybody.
Yeah, so we really wanted to see if we asked everyone the same question, how would the answers differ, get different perspectives. The first one was, what are you excited about, or what do you think is going to happen in 2025? So, we did our predictions episode where Rusty and Maddie shared our view that I know both of us consulted with outside sources, but we really wanted to get some diverse perspectives there and ask other industry leaders what they thought about what's coming this year.
Yeah, and the recovery and growth. It seems like a lot of folks were coming back saying
Yeah.
that this year the optimism. You had mentioned that word earlier, and it's funny because I wrote that word down as the optimism, the excitement for getting into 2025.
Yeah.
Over the last few years, there seemed to be a little bit ups and down. It's the industry has officially bounced back, and they're ready to crush it in 2025. That was the real sentiment that I got.
Yeah, I got the same. People are excited about this year. I think everyone feels like it's going to be a normal year, compared to the big COVID swings that we've seen in the past. And we've returned to this normal and good growth rate for the industry. So I was happy about the optimism. And, we can kind of hear from the experts themselves as they give their own specific views. But, as much as we were looking for those diverse perspectives, I think that was a pretty common theme among everybody.
I think it was one of the most common, if not that, and I think DTF,
Yes.
and the amount of times DTF got brought
Oh,
in.
yes.
But we'll talk about that in the next one. But the other thing also is mergers and acquisitions seem to be a common thread as well. We heard from several folks that they feel like, which we kind of talked about. Again, I think everything goes back to our predictions. I felt really good that our predictions aligned really well with what we're hearing. But mergers and acquisitions are going to continue to happen. We've already seen one. I've heard there's another rumor of another one coming possibly in the next few weeks. So,
there's a lot of rumors floating around. I'm hearing the same thing, and it's only January, so the deal activity we saw last year was announced, summer and then fall for the big ones. I think there was a couple smaller things in Q1, but the fact that we're already hearing some rumors this early in the year, maybe you might be right, because I think you asked me for the number of transactions, and you said 5 was your prediction. I think I came in at like 3 or 4, and my cat wants to say hello. By the way, she loves Print on Demand. But the audience will love that. Some people have already picked up on her appearing in these episodes. But yeah, I think you might be right, Rusty. With the kind of early in the year rumors, we'll see how things go. But that was another thing we heard about a ton at the show, is just more consolidation, more partnerships, kind of more activity on the private market side of companies coming together or potentially looking for creative strategic things they can do to ultimately drive value for their shareholders, but also for customers, which is great.
Yeah, I'm hoping that that I look at 5 as that where I'm going. I think we may actually be low on that.
Really?
Well, just based on what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know. It's going to be fascinating. We'll just see how it shakes out.
We also get a lot of interesting people that are. I talk to a lot of folks. Well, I've sent 3 opportunities just to look at this year of folks that are looking at investments, possible acquisitions. We get a lot of intake that just flows through, just obviously being the size that Taylor is and all the things that we do. The amount of M&A activity, just of interest out there, is fascinating to me. And I had a conversation this morning with somebody. They're like, "Hey, we're looking for a strategic investor," and not that it's a fit for Taylor, but there's a lot of people out there talking and looking for things. That's been 3 just this month.
Wow, that's pretty. I mean, using that even as just a pulse on the market, I think is really telling of that level of interest. I know on the Guten side, we've had, I would say, a record number of strategic, higher level conversations this year so far too. So we like being independent. We're always open to conversations, and I think everyone's kind of thinking the same thing around, what creative things can we do together? Where are the opportunities?
Also, to me, I look at it as they want to be able to expand their business, right? So cash allows them to be able to expand, grow, hire, really get out there. It's a little bit more competitive. And one thing, the last trend I saw, or the last theme, I guess I felt will kind of dovetail that into this, is the fact that the rise from print on demand, where it's really going a step up, where it's no longer just that B2C, hey, I just need a t-shirt. It's really upper crust. They're looking at enterprise level engagement, product across the board expansion. The technology's elevated it. That to me was really something that I thought was an interesting trend. It wasn't always common throughout, but it was something I picked up through just various conversations and what I saw while I was walking the show floor.
I completely agree. And I know one of the individuals we interviewed, we call it Jason at Fulfill Engine Installs, he called that out specifically, but I'm with you. I started going to this show, and it was, kind of the big, high volume t-shirt show. And then, it was embroidery and other decoration methods, but just the quality level all the way from what you see from the distributors, the Alpha Broders, the Sandmars, and then of course the garment companies, Bell and Canvas, everybody on that side of the world, all the way through to the decoration technologies, the platforms, like, it feels like we are entering a new era of POD where, it's been this commoditized market, great market for so many brands who've maintained and built these very powerful content and demand engines with no inventory. But now it's becoming even more applicable, I think, to all these different types of businesses. You've called this out with corporates. We're seeing promo come into the space a lot more seriously. But I think even just outside of that, fashion, as you think about some of these applications, right? I picked up so many products at the show where I'm like, I would have never guessed this was made via kind of a print on demand methodology. And I work in the industry. And so imagine the consumer who's getting these things, they don't know, right? Like for all they can tell, it's mass produced or bulk produced using more of a traditional method. But, it actually was something that was a true MOQ1 that didn't get made until after their order. And I think that's incredibly powerful and opens up so many market opportunities for all of us, which is awesome.
I'm excited for the industry itself to turn around. The last 2 years, 2023, 2024, I think have been tough.
Yep.
It's been a crazy convergence of overspending in 22 and PPE money and technology changing in the industry and the economy and everything that's been going on in the world. So I'm excited to be back to a place where we can be bullish about 2025, go out there, crush the industry, and we're excited.
I've seen kind of a trend in the last year or so, two different industry spaces, the e-com space and also promo spaces are getting closer together. So it's more just products now rather than different industry sectors. So I think print runs are coming down in the promo world. So I'm seeing a bit of a cross-pollination of those two industries.
We are part of one of the largest mergers in our industry. So I think my first prediction will be by the end of 2025, we hope that will be nearly complete.
Yep.
And I also would predict that there are going to be more mergers and acquisitions, I think both in the supplier base as well as with distributors.
And what I'm really excited about in 25, I think that we just are going through certain change that a lot of people sort of they realize that print on demand and DTG is and technology as any other. Always people were, I want screen, I want DTG, and I think I'm excited that now people take it as another print technology.
Exactly.
And what I see that we can sort of mix the technologies based on what we want, what makes the most sense for the order. And that I'm excited that a lot of people are not having like a weird, thinking that the quality is not good enough, and especially retail and music and so on. But now you can just go. Yeah. That I'm excited about.
We're very optimistic about 2025. In fact, the early signs for us are very robust and exciting. The transition from screen print technologies into more and more companies that are incorporating digital is a big deal for us, and so we're constantly innovating around the digital space.
Yep.
And we're very excited about what that's leading to. And then our core screen print business is very strong, and we're continuing to invest in that category too. We're very bullish on 2025.
AI is going to be the most important thing that goes on in our industry, and it's not just about creation or helping with procedures and processes to get better and faster. It's more about, I think AI is going to help with product customization more than anything. You're seeing it. So things like helping the end user through text prompting, through image prompting to come up with new, better ideas to create one-of-a-kind images.
Just love that print on demand, which 5 years ago historically was influencers printing on a Gildan t-shirt with DTG, right? And that was POD. And now what is really happening is POD is coming into other verticals like promo, like team sports, licensing. There's just so many different areas, corporate stores, I just could go on and on, right? And it's not just t-shirts anymore, right? It's an elevation of the products. It's much better products. It's different types of products. It's hard goods. You guys do an awesome job of the variety of the products. And so that gets me really excited, is that we're not just talking about DTG t-shirts anymore. It's a much higher, elevated type of offering.
The next question was, tech transformation. What were people excited about when it came to technology and how it was going to impact the apparel market? I think that was
Well, I think this is
all my notes in front of me.
big question.
Yeah.
No, that was a big question, and it's right. Sorry to cut you off there, but yes, I think you and I hit the nail on the head again on this one. So I'm going to give us some credit, Rusty. DTF was the talk of the show. We called this out. I think everyone's really excited about the scale, the quality, a lot of the standardization that's coming with that. DTF a few years ago is still a little bit of the Wild West. I think you've seen some pretty major players get in a meaningful way, which is great for all involved. But I think with that, we heard pretty consistently that, there's been a bit of a reversion to this understanding that it's not just one decoration method. It's not just digital. It's not just DTF. It's not just screen. It's not just embroidery. It's the combination that is really powerful. And, I think that's also a really good thing for the consumers and for the producers, because the consumer doesn't have to worry about it, or the brand, right? They're just going to get a great product. And that gives a lot of flexibility for the producer to optimize for labor and time and cost and all those efficiency things that come together to create great experiences. So I think the DTF piece was definitely front and center, but most people said, look, DTF super important, but in the context of the overall production suite, which is super interesting to hear.
100%. They all those different techniques can coexist. That was the one thing I heard multiple times, where it's not just, it's going to be DTG or it's going to be screen, or there's an application for each of them. And really DTF, the rise this year in DTF, just from the amount of conversations we had around DTF, was night and day between last year and this year. Just the speed in which DTF has really become more mainstream, where everybody was talking about that. I think there wasn't a conversation we didn't have where DTF did not lead the way.
Yep, completely agree. And I think with that, and unsurprisingly, we heard a lot about AI. And so, AI, technology, software, that came up in so many of my conversations, even outside of our interviews. I know it did for you as well. And so it was interesting as, people called out these advancements happening on the shop floors and production floors, like DTF, and then in the software ecosystem surrounding it. So I think overall, again, optimism was the theme there of, really cool technologies. We'd also heard from people who bought new production equipment last year, some reflections on how that technology performed for them. And I think, again, super optimistic around, hey, I made this investment. It turned out really well. We talked to Adam at T-Shirt and Sons, who called out, the Cornita Apollo, which is, incredible piece of equipment. So there were specific highlights on things that had happened in 2024 continuing into this year because of successes. And then I think people also looking at just the overall technology ecosystem, and again, being optimistic about the new advancements and platforms and everything that the space is doing.
And the speed. Speed to me was those advancements that led into speed, and how they're starting to get close to that screen. The quantities that they can actually service through it, which is like the Apollo. I believe they were really talking about the match that they were able to apply is getting close to screen, which was big when it comes to DTG. DTF, obviously, there's been a lot of advancements in how they're able to create the actual transfers and the speed that they're able to do that as well. And there's huge advancements happening there. Was there one area that just really stood out for y'all? When you walked around, was there something you just like, wow, okay, that I just did not see that one coming? That's a put you on the
question. No, I mean, that's the whole point of what you and I do here, right? I mean, I'm going to steal Jason's answer a little bit. We'll hear about from him in one of the clips. But I think the embroidery advancements, the single head machines, was a bit surprising to see so many of those. I was at a show last summer in Europe, and you couldn't find a single head embroidery machine at the show. It was all still bulk. And so that was a bit surprising. I think if there was anything else, I'll have to get back to you on that, but nothing else top of my head. What about you? Is there anything that surprised you or stood out?
It really wasn't. To me, it just what stood out to me more or less was, again, the DTF. The amount of conversation that led with DTF, I just didn't expect it. I knew it had gone popular. I just didn't expect it to be as popular as it has become. Last year, still very much DTG was leading the way. This year, it was completely reversed. Where DTG is still important, but it was secondary to where DTF was in the conversations. And last year, it was DTG with some talk about DTF. So to me, it was that repositioning of those two.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think maybe I wasn't as surprised by that because we've done so much work on that at Guten recently. I've been hearing about it constantly in a good way, but we just had a bunch of new products launch and some new manufacturing partnerships launch, very focused on DTF. So it's been the talk of a lot of our apparel customers for a while now too, and you saw that echoed at the show.
Yeah, you are so strong in that part of that business. It's just for us not being an apparel company, I talk to companies a lot. I'm just not in it every day. So to me, I guess it was definitely something that just stood out.
We'd have role reversal if we go to a more paper focused show. Exactly.
Yeah, we go to T-Scoop, then I'll be able to have a little bit more of a leg in my understanding with what's happening there. Now, so let's use this part now. We're going to go ahead and let's take a look at the clips from our interviews for that. The technology, I guess, really, what were we calling it? It was the tech transformation. Let's hear what people were talking about for tech transformation.
DTF, there's no question there, has changed it. That's one of those things that I think challenged our industry really in a huge way in 2024. I think that technology is going to continue to change and evolve. It's here to stay. We've been developing a lot of our technology adjacent to it, which is frankly what went really well for us last year. So I think that'll continue to grow. However, I think people are getting back to the realization that you've got to have all three disciplines. You can't just do DTF, you can't just do digital, you can't just do screen. They all have a purpose, they all have a place. Digital continues to grow, right? We're trying to get new technology there, new inks, new ways to print things, and screen will be here forever.
So we recently installed some new Cornet equipment. We were the first Apollo user in mainland Europe. Wow. We saw that through Peak, and that has been a game changer for us in terms of speed. So some of the technologies that have been really useful, and we're living and breathing it now, is the speed of production, which is not only means we can get our product out quicker for our customers, but also means there are huge labor savings. There's less people involved to run the machines, which means less searching for staff during peak seasons, people no shows and things like that. So speed of productivity of digital production is getting better and better, which is helping us deliver.
Or a heat applied transfer of some kind is really making the industry more nimble.
Yeah.
It is giving people a lot of flexibility to do one at a time, to do something very unique and specific to them. It makes the places our industry can go bigger. Right. And also, I think some of the equipment, machinery, or the ways you get that transfer, the costs are relatively low, and it's enabling more people to come into our industry.
I don't see any major change. Obviously, DTF is taking over for some applications, but this is, I think, the biggest change, and it's the perception of the customers for the DTG. Yeah. And obviously, the quality got better.
There's been the rise in popularity of DTF equipment, direct-to-film transfers. We've got a product that we've had in the marketplace for about 14 months, and we've exceeded all of our expectations with regard to demand and activity. We think the opportunity to continually innovate around that space is a big deal. But clearly a digital theme. Yep. And of course, we have new technology we refer to as our S4 technology that goes on our classic Polaris DTG platform and improves the print quality, opens up more space for people to decorate on a variety of different substrates beyond the certain colorways that are impacted. So we're excited about that. We continually develop around that category in a major way. And again, other means of kind of decorating and improving the efficiency and throughput in factories on screen print is also a big part of our game. So
the increase in DTF, more DTF machines showing up all over. Rock, we're happen to be by their booth this year, and I saw their new DTF machine, DTG. I mean, look at the quality. Everyone would said that the quality on DTG wasn't there yet. I'm looking at it right here, and you're seeing super high quality at like 250 shirts an hour. That's incredible.
Really getting to that quantity of one, right? no longer needing to have these bulk techniques to have these really nice finishes. Really excited about that. Obviously, direct to film has had a huge impact on the industry as a whole, but everything has like its place, right? So everyone said when direct to film came out, oh, DTG is going to go away. That's not true, right? But they complement each other well. Seeing embroidery really start. If you go around the different embroidery manufacturers, they all have single head equipment that they're showing. You were here 5 years ago, you wouldn't find a single head. They're trying to sell you their 30 head machine, right? So it's really neat seeing all the equipment manufacturers just really start to focus on that print on demand as our industry really it goes that way.
And now we'll go into segment 3, which is Impressions Expo highlights. So we asked people, what do you get excited about coming back to Impressions every year? It was something along that line. I think we kind of phrased it around, why do you keep coming back to Impressions every year? Or what's your favorite thing about Impressions?
Yes. We did. I think if you and I had been more clever, we would have said, what's your impression of Impressions? But I think that would have gotten like one laugh, and then we would have had to completely nix that joke. But yeah, we asked people, what's your favorite part of the show?
Morning quarterback right there. It's always a day late. We come up with the smart wisdom stuff.
That's true. That's at least it happens at some point. We're late on the upkeep, but we get there eventually on our own time. Well, next time you and I will have a brainstorm around bad dad jokes almost that we can make at these events we're covering.
ChatGPT, give me a bad dad joke on this conference we're going to.
I'm just gonna text you, Rusty. I feel like you've got that section covered. But anyway, what do people like about the show? I think, look, it's probably the same. A lot of these answers, I think, were the same for you and I. They love seeing what's new, but it's the people. It's seeing everybody in one place. It's the diversity. It's different companies. It's the opportunity to talk to customers and partners. And that's just that like center of gravity feeling. And then also it's right as we come out of peak season Q4, which is such a high volume time. So much hard work goes into executing against those high order volumes. And so I think the fact that it's pretty close to that recent memory, it's really nice to just break bread and blow off some steam, have a couple drinks, and thank the partners that we all work with together to say, hey, you showed up for me last year. Really appreciate that. So I think that's what we heard a lot from people. And that echoes my sentiment from Impressions as well.
That's the whole reason why I've been going all these years is for that one reason. Is literally I enjoy being around the people, the network, talking to our partners, finding out how they're doing, seeing some cool technology and equipment, but for the most part, the people. And I think it was the main thing that everybody had talked about. And you're going to see that when we roll these clips here in a second, why people attend Impressions every year.
I know. And it's such a friendly industry and we all get along nice, which is great. Like I don't think you and I edited in any of the hugs, but it's like we're interviewing all these people. It's like giving us a hug. Good to see you. Right. So it makes it fun. I think it didn't, you and I just walking around having fun conversations. And so I think it was a really cool way for us to see the show too, through other people's eyes. And again, back to that optimism. I just left Long Beach being like, wow, I'm really excited for 2025. Like that was great. Let's do more of that.
I left pumped. I was sad to actually leave because I left early. I came in for Thursday night, and then I left Friday. So I actually left a little bit early. But I was sad to leave because there were so many people I didn't really have a chance to spend too much time with that I want to spend more time with. But fortunately, in the world of Zoom and Teams and Google Meets and everything else and all the other shows we're going to, we're going to be able to spend more time with them, and we can do that. So let's roll the clip from our interviews for why people attend Impressions.
My favorite part of this event is people, the whole industry coming together. We built our booth in this giant atrium intentionally with a bunch of partners that we invite in to participate with us. And I think it's great to see everyone come together, get new technology out there, have some drinks, which, us printers do maybe far too often. But it's just fun to see everyone.
It's a big show for T-Shirt & Sons because we have still probably 60 to 70% of our client base are US-based brands, and being in January after a peak season for e-commerce, it's always good to come and say thank you very much. So we always like to break some bread and shake some hands with some of our customers, and it's a big networking show. So that's mainly why we come here. In terms of technology. New advances. Most of us get a heads up if something's going to be coming out, so it's mainly the networking.
It's really about the people. So not just people that you know from other companies, seeing your own coworkers, the customers, it's fascinating to me to talk to customers who are not customers I know and to understand the wide variety of ways people are making a living in this industry.
Yeah.
It's extremely diverse, and just when I think I've seen every kind of company there could be, I hear about something different, another way someone has turned this industry into a business in a way I've never seen done before.
I see this as a melting pot of all, you can meet all the people in one place from the industry, and I think that's the most exciting for me. Of course, I like to look at the machines and stuff, but it doesn't excite me after 30 years in the business that much. Obviously, there's some stuff which is amazing and a lot of new development, but you can meet so many people from the industry in one place, and that's why I keep coming back every year.
This is our 40th anniversary in the industry, 2025. So we're celebrating that and kicking that celebration off today, and it'll run through a variety of events throughout the balance of the year. We've got old classic equipment. The very first Gauntlet, which is one of our flagship machines, it was built in 1987. The very first one ever built is running in our booth. We were able to reclaim that back from the market a few years ago. So I'm very excited about that, and just the last 40 years in celebrating all the success the company's had with a lot of old friends. That's the best part of this show for me.
Yeah.
Meeting new people, seeing old friends, and just, overall seeing new technology.
Is just getting to meet with all of our partners and all the relationships we built. You guys are a perfect example of getting to meet with that. The supplier partners, our decorating partners. I don't know, it's just so much fun getting to see everyone all here at one spot.
All right, so now that we're back, one thing I want to throw out real quick before we kind of wrap up the show was it was our first time to really be interviewing folks directly. And we had a chance to look at the tape and everything that, watching do the interviews. What were some of the things that you felt were easy or hard to do when it came to interviewing?
Oh man, that's a good question. I think getting used to the kind of body language aspect of it. I was watching back of do you look at the person, do you look at the camera, right? Like cognizant of wanting it to be, interactive for people who are tuning in. But it's always weird seeing yourself on camera. Neither you and I don't really do this professionally, and so I think that's always something that both of us can continue to work on. But I think it's helping. The big thing is helping the people that we're talking to get comfortable. So that was something that I thought about afterwards. I thought we did a pretty good job while we were there, but as we think about, next interviews and having people on the show, helping them feel comfortable and just talk about what they know, because there's so much good knowledge in this industry. So I'm going to kind of warm people up, right? Get them to loosen up a little bit. But what about you? What were your takeaways?
Not talking like this. I feel like every interview I was at the side versus actually spending more time looking a little bit more forward, but at the same time talking to them. That to me was one thing that really stood out is how much do I look versus, because if not, all you see is it was a bad. And also, I'm not going to wear a dark blue shirt ever again on when I do that. It was wardrobe malfunctions after one another, so it was not easy. So I had so I had to keep them all down because I was sweating, so it wasn't the best look. But yeah, that was one thing I actually my number one takeaway is choose my wardrobe wisely.
I think you and I should do FaceTimes, right? As we think about these things, because I feel like we were such a funny pair. You're walking around and you're like, oh man, shouldn't have worn this shirt. I had 10 people come up to be like, you're wearing a dress at a printing conference? But hey, we stand out. No one missed us. They could see Rusty and Maddie coming. So in some ways, I think we did
a lot of compliments on that dress, by the way. People were like, oh,
it's funny.
It was very impressive. You look very nice.
Well, thank you. I think it's just more of everyone's like, she's wearing a white dress to a printing conference. Is she insane? I'm like, don't worry. I'm not going to be touching the inks or any of the equipment. I'm just here to observe. But yes, this is not a functional piece of the wardrobe. Yeah.
I thought for our first effort, I thought it was a success. Obviously, we don't have the best. We were using an iPhone to do it. Actually, the one piece of technology I thought was the MVP was that little lavalier that we used, the little wireless mic.
Amazing.
That thing was great.
Yeah.
It really worked.
I know.
Well. I just need to get another set.
It was awesome. We should get some feedback in here too, because I feel like a lot of the people we talked to, when this was actually, I'm going to pause on this. We had so many people come up to us at the show and actually talk about this podcast. That was a pleasant surprise for me. that, we had a lot of people say, listen to the podcast. We really appreciate what you guys are doing. We like the industry coverage. So that was a highlight. It made me feel good that we're hopefully delivering some value here and people like listening. But related to that, because you asked me for feedback, I think we should figure out a way, and maybe people will listen to this and reach out, how to get feedback in from the audience. People are listening to this. If there's topics they want us to cover or questions or like, hey, please be gentle to us because neither you nor I are professionals at this, but things they think we can do better as we're doing these interviews or hosting these episodes, I'd love to hear that. So something we can put out to the ether through this episode, and then you and I can talk about more.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the whole intent. It's right. I kind of look at us as just we're creating the opportunity for these conversations to just have more conversation, get people talking across the ecosystem, because there's so many different channels that are coming into this, and they all have their own little areas of specialty. So the more that we can bring those people in and talk and learn, and they're, promo's trying to figure out the print side of the world, and apparel, they're looking at it from this way. And so I 100% agree. We need way more feedback. And where should we be talking? Where should we spend our energy? Do people really want more apparel, or they want print? Do they want other
platforms, social commerce,
technology? Yeah, shipping. We still got to cover shipping because we got to solve that problem. That's just when we talked about that at the very beginning. That's a hard one. But why are we doing this, Maddie? I mean, really, honestly, it's just because we love the industry and we want to generate conversations around something that we're passionate about, and we feel like there was a missing voice out there for people to really talk about a lot of the challenges that we see in our businesses. Right? It's I'm learning from talking with you and also others from these conversations, because it's like, oh my gosh, I never even would have thought about that. And it makes
100%.
us as business leaders that can really approach the business a little bit differently. So I think bringing that up, that was an excellent point to bring up, and something I hope that the audience does take us up on and be nice about it. But let us know what can we do. What do you want us to cover?
Exactly. And I think you and I, to end on this, I think you and I really believe that a rising tide lifts all boats here, and really believe in partnership and collaboration. So if we can help drive that through this podcast and other means, fantastic.
Absolutely. Well, before we wrap up, I do want to give a shout out to D-Scoop once again for sponsoring our podcast. Without them, we would not exist. So thank you to D-Scoop. And if you are not already familiar with D-Scoop, check them out. Amazing content out there. They're really getting behind in the print on demand world. So check them out. They got a conference coming up in Long Beach in May. So you definitely want to check that out and be there. We'll be there. We'll be doing our podcast there as well. We'll be doing a recap from that one. And what do we have coming up next before we get into our close?
We are headed to Riga, Latvia. So we're going to be having some great conversations from Riga. There's some pretty big print-on-demand companies that are located there. You might have heard of them: Printful, Printify, several others. And then we also have another industry show coming up at the end of February. So we may squeeze in an episode between that, but Stalls and Fulfill Engine are hosting a POD conference. So I think you and I will be also doing a lot of what we just did, but try to get some new voices in the fray as we, again, look at the market and do some coverage from that show.
Yes, it will be. It would be a lot of fun. I think one thing we learned as we were walking around the show, we just need to get a little booth that we can literally sit up and just really have interviews in a comfortable area, almost like fireside chats where we could talk to them. But I did kind of like the ability of walking around, seeing everybody's booth and being able to do that. But at the POD conference, that's gonna be a lot of fun. And so, looking forward to get over to Riga and talking to those folks. And lots of great content we're gonna be able to drive. And if there's someplace else we should be talking to or going to, let us know. That's what, again, call to action there. So anyways.
Exactly. Good stuff. Well, I think that's it for today. Thank you for everybody for tuning in. And we'll wrap that up. Looking forward to seeing you next time.
Until then, cheers.